And boom, we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wolf. Welcome to a trading education stream. The era of easy crypto investing is over. Altcoins, a lot of them are cooked, and you can get mad. The thing is, we've been talking about in the stream a lot and the spaces as well. You pin up pretty much any altcoin against Bitcoin, and it's not gonna be a good chart. It's not gonna look so good for you. You would have been better off holding Bitcoin almost in every single scenario, except for a few coins actually that we've talked about here. I think it's a really good conversation. For some people who are in every space, it might feel like we talked about it a lot, but it's actually really helped me form my thesis around how this market's going to go. And not so much this market and how I can capitalize this time, but just how to think about this market as it develops. We went from a world of, 50 coins to 500 million coins. Obviously, the strategy is going to change in that scenario, right? It's not going to be as easy as just buying and praying and spraying and praying. It just doesn't work. I literally tried it last night in the trenches in Solana meme coins, and maybe it would have worked, but we got hit with a black swan. And Chinese company DeepSeek AI came out of nowhere and just wrecked everybody. NVIDIA fell like 20% in a day or something absurd like that, lost more than the GDP of Switzerland in like 5 hours or something. I mean, this world is insane. And what Dom says, you need an edge. Whatever it is, you need to find your edge. And for me, dude, Dom's got 1,000 edges, so I'm just hoping to find one or two that I resonate with that it's easier for me to pick up and something that I can add to my repertoire. Dom, I was going to say before we get started, for people who are listening, if they don't know you, what kind of trader are you? How long have you been trading? How do you think about these things? Just give like a quick 2-minute version. If someone says, if you're at a trading convention, someone says, what kind of trader are you? Just so people have context before they go, okay, I want to, attribute some of the lessons that I learned from the stream.
Totally. Yeah, so I've been involved in the crypto space since 2017. I didn't trade too much back then. I was kind of just investing and, spraying and praying. But at that point, it worked very well. Yep. So, I had great gains in 2017. And then towards 2018 is when I really dove into, the shorter term trading aspect. So my strategies have changed a lot over the years. I used to just use simple trend lines, patterns, the simple indicators like RSI, MACD, stochastic RSI and kind of those baseline things. And I had some success, but I've kind of evolved and now I really just focus on volume, something that's really overlooked. So I use VWAPs and volume profiles, which are super, super useful. And then recently I've been doing a lot of order flow stuff. So looking at order book heat maps and looking at the cumulative deltas of volume and different things like that. So I've definitely kind of changed my approach recently, but I think that a lot of, the thing about trading is everybody can have a different strategy and everybody can actually be profitable. Like I know so many people that do complete opposite things for me, but they're profitable. So I think it's just good to, figure out what resonates well with you. And I think that, there's not one strategy that is going to make it click for you. I see people always searching for that one strategy in trading where it's like, this is it, I'm just going to continue to make money now. And unfortunately, that's not really the case. The markets are ever evolving, as we're going to talk about today. And, we need to adapt. So, that's what I've continued to do, just refine. And I think that, now the order book, looking at the order book and I kind of study the relationship between buyers and sellers and kind of looking at where they step in, where they stepping away, where there's a lot of support based on the orders. And, combining that with different profiles, looking at volume traded at each price. And then the VWAPs are really a quick overview of kind of how I approach the market now.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we do that on the streams because I realized like when we do trading streams, I was like, wait, if I don't preface with what kind of trader they are, this information may not be helpful. If you're a scalper and we're talking to Calvin, for example, Calvin's not, his advice is great, but for a scalper, there's probably other streams they could benefit from, you know what I mean? So awesome. Great. We got a quick little introduction. So real quick before we dive into anything, I'd love to hear just like any quick overview thoughts from the last 24 hours. You did a stream very recently. We had a space the other day as well. But do you have any updated thoughts from pretty much the last like 12, 15 hours from what's going on in the markets?
Yeah, I think that obviously people said that, the DeepSeek thing was just kind of a narrative, but, I've been watching these markets for a long time now. And I think that was definitely a catalyst where I don't like to point the moves to news, but the fact that the NASDAQ 100 was down almost, I think it was 5% on a Sunday night. That's not just some profit taking, that was absolutely fears from that AI. And I think it's important because what happened is that AI has been holding up the stock market for a while. We have Nvidia and a lot of the different AI stocks. They've been a real big part of the performance. So it makes sense for the market to get spooked because everybody thought China was behind, and the U.S. had this proprietary technology. And then look, China came out with an open source model, and that's something I don't see people talking about. What's if China came out with that, but it was closed source? Imagine what.
Wow.
Imagine the market's reaction now. Nobody's really said
Whoa. That would have been insane. What do you think would have happened?
I think that we would have saw a much bigger collapse because that would have been a big fear that they have something that they're not sharing. And it's funny. It's like a slap in the face to OpenAI. It's it's a pretty interesting thing. So not that we're talking about AI here in stocks. I just think that was definitely a pretty big catalyst. And I think that the market, at least Bitcoin, Bitcoin and some altcoins, they've revived pretty well. So
they have actually. There's some really strong strength actually. And you mentioned the other day, we had some insane bullish news, and you were surprised at how much we didn't pump, and you were like, "That's not a good sign." I'm not sure what to think about that. But then we didn't crash. So I'm like, what does this mean? Like this support zone that we've got, this range that we're in between 90 and 103, 104K, whatever. What's going on here?
Totally. Yeah, I think that we talked about it on the Thursday market talk space. And essentially, the market was waiting for all this good news. It came through and it didn't do anything. So that kind of showed that positioning needed to be wiped out. And something I actually posted last night, the RSI on Bitcoin, I'm sure you've heard of RSI. I don't use it too much, but the 1 hour RSI actually hit the lowest level in over 528 days. So the last time we saw an RSI that low was 25K back in 2023. So what that shows is that the market really got rinsed out. And I think that the order book showed that there was a large exchange of impatient sellers to patient buyers. So I think that 97K, if we lose that, definitely think that we'd probably reach the lower 90s again. Bitcoin still wouldn't be broken in any manner, but as long as the stock market can, stabilize here and those fears are gone, I wouldn't be surprised to say that was the low. It was, I mean, at least on the reaction of some of those altcoins, I think that either way, next 1 to 2 months, I see the market going higher for sure. That has not changed in my mind, and that continues to be my approach. So if you want to trade the chop in between, and if you got filled on those levels yesterday, awesome. But I don't think anything really changed too much, in my honest opinion, for the last 48 hours, besides a massive liquidation and taking out all the longs that built up on the Trump inauguration,
Yeah, and I hope, by the way, I see a bunch of support in the comments here. DNW, Craig, Tame, appreciate all of you coming through. I'm not sure if you're coming from Dom's side or from Wolf, but always appreciate you coming through to these streams. Let us know if you have any questions, thoughts, or if you want us to check something out, or just general conversation in the chat. Highly recommend. And if you're on X, please give Dom a follow. Just go literally right above our faces here and click his account, because if you like anything of the sorts that we've been talking about, he's someone you want to go as a resource. He's great. And he posts very consistent content. It's very high level. It's not Moonboy stuff. This is why I connect with him really well. I never did Moonboy content because I thought it was cringy and I didn't think it was helpful for anybody. And I thought the Lord would judge me one day for that kind of thing. So I was like, let's do something better. But anyways, go ahead.
I would just say there's a lot of that. There is definitely a lot of that type of content, and that's fine. It gets a lot of likes and engagement, but if you want some real type stuff, there's a lot of people that share that. So, just be cognizant of what you're consuming there, is my opinion.
Definitely. All right, let's dive into some of this. I have some broader questions I want to ask, but I want to dive in. Like, I want to hear the 4-year cycle thoughts. I want to hear the people who are saying Q2 is going to be the end, but I also want to dive into the main topic here, which is like, which coins are going to do well. We talked about XRPs, the XLMs, HBAR, Algorand, these coins that are in a very specific sector compared to other sectors. They've just outperformed, and it's not even remotely close. And I know that there were a bunch of things you've been tweeting about XRP in particular and XLM, but XRP, you were saying, hey, there's a couple key levels here to really pay attention to. The next few days is going to tell us a lot. And so I know XRP people are fuming. They're ready to go. They want to hear the alpha. So I want to turn it over to you, and I'm going to put my jacket on for 2 seconds here, but please, would love to hear the thesis around this. Any updates you've got?
Yeah. Are you referring to just the cycle theory or the performance of altcoins compared to Bitcoin of what we see?
Let's maybe start with the performance part, and then we'll zoom into some of these coins. I'm sure people will probably be throwing tickers in the chat, and if there's one that makes sense to bring up, we can bring that up as well.
Totally. Yeah, I think that, what we've seen recently is essentially, I guess I'll just start off with this chart right here. This right here shows the number of coins that have launched on the major chains since 2017. And as we can see, I mean, the last alt season we had was right here. It started January 1st, 2021 to, basically May. And that was the big alt season. Look, we had less than 1 million coins on all of the chains back then. And we fast forward to now, we have 36 million coins. So what happens is there's not enough money to go around to pump all those coins. And essentially the best way to put it is dispersion. That's what we're seeing is complete dispersion, where there's only so much, like, think about, there's only so much money. You could visualize it like a ball, and that ball can only split up into a certain amount of pieces. And if it wants to keep splitting, each of those pieces are going to be a lot thinner. So that's how I look at what's happening here in the market in general. And, as for the performance, we've touched on this a lot for the large caps. I think that we're entering a spot where the speculative bubble of crypto may be waning. It may not be, complete speculation anymore, to the point where the real projects that are perceived as utility and are at least on a path of providing some type of solution to a problem in the world, I think that those are the coins that we've seen perform the best. And I'm just referring to large caps here. Back in 2021 and 2017, we could buy anything and we can make money. But now it's been a lot different. And I think that my simplest view, without really going on a tangent, is that people on the outside, or even people on the inside of this market, they're putting their money, at least on large caps, on things that they perceive to be potential value, potential solutions of the world. And whether or not that's going to be right or not, we could sit here and debate that, but it's really the only explanation in my mind. And the main explanation as to why we don't see synchronized alt seasons, or why we haven't, is because of this chart right here. I mean, when I saw this chart, it really, really blew me away. I mean, it definitely caught me by storm. I mean, what is your opinion on there, Kate? I mean, we could see go from less than 1 million coins the last alt season. Look at 2017. I think we had like 2,000. I mean, basically some on-chain coins, sure, but I think overall in coin market cap, there was 2,000 coins. I feel like I have memories 2017, 2018. I think there was 2,000 coins total. And now we have over 30 million.
30 million is insane. So I remember this. I saw a post yesterday, and it was a guy, I don't remember his name. He went on the Joe Rogan Experience 11 years ago, explained Bitcoin. It sounds just like the explanations I'm hearing today. Nothing different. A normal pitch of Bitcoin, why we need it, and what the value is. And I remember watching it and saying, God, dude, like, that makes perfect sense. Like, why would I not have been okay to listen to it? Because when I was in college, like my freshman year, 2016 or something like that, my roommate was, I won't dox anything of the sort, but some questionable things were going on. Crypto was part of that. Bitcoin was part of that. And I remember just being turned off by it in general. I just didn't. And I remember he actually explained it. I was in his public speaking class, and one of the kids in there, not my roommate, did a whole Bitcoin conversation. He explained Bitcoin. And I remember, because he didn't say anything about other altcoins. He only talked about Bitcoin. And I'm pretty sure he was a maxi. He's probably rich right now. He's probably living on a yacht. And there was only a few coins, and he didn't even bring them up. And so a few years later, I jump in. This is 2021. There's tons of coins, but relatively speaking, you can choose some of the winners, and pretty much they're going to make money. Now I've seen there's just no way to argue the sort. You just can't win when you look at the other altcoins. I mean, I remember the first time you brought it up, I went immediately after the stream and checked out like a bunch of charts, and I was like, holy crap, they have all bled. This is nuts. Why would they turn around it's like, why would you jump on a fast horse in the middle of your race onto a slow horse that's not showing any signs of life? Why would that make any sense just because it hasn't picked up? You think it's just going to one day? It's possible, but why would you put your bet into that? And so when I look at that chart, dude, it feels a little bit like we're cooked. But there are some sectors I think that really could stick out here. And I think in the next bear market, it's going to tell us a lot, because people are going to say, oh my God, my thesis was so wrong and I got wrecked. I lost $20 million and I thought I was going to make $1 billion and I got wrecked. What can I actually put my money into that doesn't suck? And I think that's going to be the narrative as the next market corrects and we go into a full, at some point in a bear market. I think people are going to say, I'm not doing that again. Either they're going to leave or they're going to say, what actually has value here? And I think that might be the secret to why these XRP, Algorand, these tokens, RWAs, DPINs, these sectors that are a little bit different than we've seen, may stick out as like kind of that thing that everyone looks at and that shining lighthouse.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you summed it up very well there, Cade. If we just sit back and think about what has crypto became, to be honest, it's became like a casino for a lot of people. And it's
Yeah.
became this thing where everybody wants to get in. Why? Because they want to make money. And at the end of the day, I think that an industry can't grow in that aspect. Like, we can't have an industry that actually is taken serious or, goes on to solve real world problems when most of the industry just wants to make a bunch of money and it's filled with a bunch of greed. So if you think about it in that terms, what happens? We get a washout, and we're kind of seeing that a lot on a lot of these altcoins. Like the best one I like to talk about is Cosmos Atom. That one's down to almost where it was in 2020. And I think that, what happens there is, just like you said, people probably want to be involved in something that has a promise to do something. And, the speculative bubble, I just don't think it can last much longer. That's my honest opinion. I don't think that the speculative bubble that we've been in with crypto of just trying to make all this money, it's just that usually always falls on its face. So,
One thing that might also happen is that, I recently converted a big chunk of money into Bitcoin, and I just said, I don't care. I don't care if we drop to 80K, 90K, 70K. It's not even worth taking the risk of not getting into Bitcoin. Totally. I think Bitcoin also could be, hopefully at least, it could be, I think it's possible it's one of the top performers in in the whole industry here, even though we've got other cryptos that people say have higher potential ROI. Maybe, but I think actually there's a chance that people say, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying altcoin ever again. I'm going to go into Bitcoin, because that's something that my brain thought immediately. If I wasn't going to learn how to trade, I probably would have just converted everything to Bitcoin, but because I want to learn how to trade, I'm going to diversify a little bit. But as far as long-term holds, I think a lot of people are going to flock to Bitcoin after this, and we could see a real Bitcoin renaissance, not so much all crypto.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're already seeing that. And when I bounce over to TradingView later on, I'll show the dominance. But this kind of gives a good view of all of the orange is Bitcoin, and then all of the other colors is the top 10. The rest of the entire crypto market, that 30 million, it makes up just the gray area. And if you just look recently, I mean, it kind of shows where, most of the capital we have about 75-80% of all the money in the top 10 coins. And a big chunk of that is even USDC and USDT. So if you look at it in that aspect, and even since, if we look since the bear market, these have all just been growing. If we could see the gray area is actually getting smaller. So kind of exactly what you're saying. I think people are flocking to Bitcoin mainly, of course, because it's established itself as the biggest one and arguably probably the least risk, unless Satoshi is revealed as North Korea or Russia. Yeah. That's probably the only risk, in my opinion, that Bitcoin has, or the governments, turn into this efficiency and they ban mining, which I think that'd be way down the line. Those are the only risks to me that Bitcoin faces. But as we can see, I mean, it continues to eat the market share. So people are getting sick of holding these altcoins that go down 50% in 2 months. And they're like, even though Bitcoin probably has less upside, it has less downside. And I think some people that have been in the space for a while, they're done with these crazy swings. They don't want to watch their portfolio go up 60, go up 200%, down 70% the month later, maybe up another 100% and down 80%. I think people are moving on from that. And I think that it's been shown. And I just wanted to cover here. This is a historical snapshot of May 7th, 2017, which is when I bought my first real investments in crypto. I bought Bitcoin earlier, but it wasn't really looked at as an investment. And if we see, they only are listing 780 coins. So as we can see, I mean, of course, all of these are basically gone. Right. But most of these, I mean, Litecoin, XRP, Ethereum still around, Ethereum Classic, Monero. And you could see that those, they've stood the test of time. But it kind of shows that, back then we had 700 coins. It was a lot easier to buy any of these and to make money. And I think that that's really, for anyone watching, I think that that's really the point here to take home is we're probably not in this synchronized alt season anymore. I've been saying it now for many months, and that doesn't mean we're not going to see a few weeks or a few months of outperformance, but I just don't see it anymore. I think that we're at that point where, we get all these coins getting launched, and what's going to happen is the money is going to eventually just funnel into certain areas in certain paths, and we're going to eventually see who's going to win from all of those. And we might be seeing the first of it right now. And I think that that's the important takeaway here. Then the other thing right here is just a pie chart, kind of shows as well. I mean, Bitcoin is most of crypto.
Jeez.
You know, Bitcoin is really a large 57% of crypto. And then
looks like Pac-Man.
It really does.
And we have
Ethereum, stable coins, and if you add Doge, XRP, and Sol, the pie chart would go to like right there. So if we're talking about crypto's like 7 coins. You know, the rest of it's just what? The rest of it's basically empty promises. I hate to say it, but you know, that's what we've turned it into. So I think it's a super.
That's great. What site is this, by the way? Where are you on?
This is called codex.com. I think it kind of just gives, you know, a little bit of overview of a lot of different data on here. But it was just
this is awesome.
Yeah, it was just a good thing. I wanted to bring it up because people don't realize, they look at crypto as these millions of coins, but guys, crypto is really just 7 coins. It's really just 10 coins, and the rest of them are fighting for one of those spots. You know? But yeah, so if we move on from these two charts, this one right here obviously is the most important to me. I mean, this is crazy, and as we can see, it's mainly on Sol. You know, Sol's really taken over here. And then one thing to show here is the Ethereum versus Solana app revenue. We could see if we get out of there, and if we go down here to this chart, look at all the blue was basically the protocol revenue of Ethereum. And then look at what's happened basically since 2024. Sol now is you know, 70% of you know, the revenue now that is being generated by Ethereum and Sol. And this kind of adds to my point that I don't know. I don't see a clear future for Ethereum. I hate to say it, but as of right now, I think we need to see something big happen. Ethereum needs to really change its course or change its approach to what it wants to solve in this world to stay relevant. And of course, a lot of this is just meme coins. Yep. But hey, it's showing that, you know, the market is using a certain protocol, and it's not using a protocol like it used to. I mean, Ethereum's app revenue in 2022 was 400 million in 1 month. The biggest month we've had this cycle was 150 million. So technically speaking, on a lot of terms, Ethereum is a lot less relevant this cycle than it was last cycle. And as we can see with the price performance as well. And one other thing I wanted to bring up here is the NFT volume. You know, I look at the meme coin craze, what we're seeing right now, just like NFTs. What happened to NFTs after the cycle? NFTs have not making a comeback at all. I mean, look at the Ethereum NFT mints. You know, we went parabolic. We were having 100, 200, 300,000 mints per week. And look now. I mean, it's just completely dead. Nobody's minting on Ethereum NFTs. Same thing even with Sol. You know, Sol was minting a lot more NFTs. But this is the most important chart right here, is the NFT trade volume. I mean, we had billions of dollars a month or weeks, and look now. I mean, it's
how long was that period, by the way, of super high candles and all that?
This was, let's see, this was July 2021 to about July 2022. So 1 year. 1 year of basic, you know, basically big stuff. And if I go look back, this is kind of what I think we're at right now. This whole meme coin.
Oh, man.
So
you're saying, oh, my gosh.
Okay, yes, I am saying if we look back in 4 years, I think that this will be the meme coin volume. It'll in 4 years from now, or 2-3 years, we're going to look like this compared to what we're at right now. I look at it as a craze, just like NFTs were. Meme coins, I'm not saying that they're all going to go to zero. I'm not saying that at all. There's a place for meme coins, but there's not a place for 30 million meme coins or 20
And I don't think anyone would argue that. I hope not.
No, absolutely. And it just shows that that's kind of what happens in new industries, is we have a bunch of people come out and a bunch of stuff, you know, a bunch of new use cases. They all blow up. People go crazy over it. And then the market moves on. So this is where I think we're at in the meme coin craze.
Oh my gosh. I feel like there might be people here thinking, holy crap, I need to reassess every single aspect of my investing journey, because right now I've seen, and this is, by the way, someone, you know, relatively trustworthy in the crypto industry, Alex Becker, one of the biggest crypto YouTubers. People are like, this is the guy who's going to take us to Valhalla. Every coin he says, it goes to the moon. Right now he's posting a lot of, hey, we're down in the bear market prices again. You know, a lot of the coins are down. This is the time to get in. And historically he's been right, because they have all risen up. And even, you know, I mean, he was buying in the depths of the bear market. I think from that price, some of the coins probably are up. But he's saying that like ETH ones are coming back, and I'm sitting here going like, wow, I wonder who's going to be right here, because he's all in on, you know, the cycle is about to shift, it's going to flip over, and we're going, actually, there's nothing that backs that up aside from just like what I hope and maybe what we see in the past. But the situation has changed. Like we said, there's like 1 billion coins now. That's a hard sell when you bring that into the conversation.
It totally is. It 100% is. And like I said, I mean, we could just only use analysis and, you know, give predictions. So maybe he will be right. But everything we've seen, if we just study the cycles that we've been in, I just don't see it. I don't see it. And, you know, I'm fine to be wrong there. There's really no harm to me if I am wrong. But I just think it's better to expect that and then have it exceed those expectations than to sit around and, you know, think that meme coins or this type of environment we're in is going to last for years and years and years. I think it's a lot better to think it won't last for years and then be surprised if it does. So that's kind of my approach there. And then one other thing I wanted to cover here was the monthly exchange volume of crypto. You know, this kind of shows, you know, we have a lot of coins at all-time high, or at least Sol, XRP, Bitcoin. There's a few other coins that are, of course, in near all-time high or past all-time highs. And look, the exchange volume isn't even near what we saw in 2021. And we could see it even right here. You know, we don't even have the same amount of volume that we had. And look, Bitcoin is almost 100% higher than it was at that time. So what does that tell you? It tells you that Bitcoin is leading the show. Bitcoin and just a few select altcoins are leading the show, and volumes kind of confirm that. Let's see if the USD support. This one right here is kind of looks more at the USD pairing. So I guess that's more on par. But if we just look at just general volume, it's not like we've seen volume double, but we saw Bitcoin double. So the only thing to take away from that, in my opinion, is the fact that Bitcoin is leading the show and that a lot of the liquidity is trapped in ETFs. That's the other thing. A lot of the liquidity is trapped in ETFs. So to think that we're going to get that money just to easily shift into these altcoins, I don't see it happening. And I think that we're in the point where if there's coins that have an ETF pending, and if there's coins that have stood the test of time, those are probably going to be the coins that stick around. And I hate to be like that, but, you know, we have Sol, XRP, Doge. There's a few other ones that have ETFs coming. I would suspect that those are going to be the coins that really, you know, stick around. And I think that, you know, we just have to be prepared for that. So kind of my whole point on this stream is just to, you know, kind of just drill home the point that I don't think we're at a stage in the market where you could buy anything and make money. I think that the easy days of crypto investing are over. And I think that that's what you have the title of this to be. And I think it's true. I don't see this to be tell all your friends to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coins, you know, that you just pick out of a hat out of the top 100 and you're going to make money. At least on the long run, I don't see it anymore. And I think that you need to really, if you want to play a lot of those coins, you need to be very quick in and out. And I think that that's really the best approach is you have to just, you don't want to, I think there was a quote somebody said, you don't want to be the bag holder. You want to secure the bag. And that's really, that's the best approach nowadays.
Love it. I see, by the way, a lot of comments here in the chat. Appreciate everyone coming through. Let's run through a couple of these before we move on. So actually, Ondo's come up a few times. Trump has come up a couple of times. Ondo has come up multiple times. XRP, Ondo. I actually brought up Ondo in the last conversation just now when I was talking about RWAs in the stream before this. Ondo was one that came up. I see Giga. Not sure if I should know what that is. Futures go live Thursday. I'm not sure if that's a shill or if that's an actual thing here.
No, Giga is a
I haven't heard of that.
Giga Chad, that's a meme coin on Solana.
Oh, okay. So we're shilling. Okay.
Yeah, but hey, it's actually a pretty strong one. It's been around for about a year or two, and it's got a pretty good lore to it of the, you know, it tries to capture the masculinity of the world. So
all right.
So yeah, I have a few friends that have been into that for a while.
That's funny. What do you think about bringing in Ondo into the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ondo, if we just go over, I made a little post here just recently that
says that wasn't a shill for Giga. Hold on, Ondo, you're cutting out.
It's interesting to see here that. Back. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, you're good now. It froze there for a second.
But yeah, this basically happened today. Ripple and
Whoa.
Ondo Finance bringing OUSG, which is short-term tokenized U.S. Treasuries, to the XRP ledger. So Ondo's definitely making big moves. And
Wow.
as we can see, BlackRock CEO wanted to, or not, basically said to the SEC, they want to rapidly approve tokenization of bond stocks and a few other things. And Larry Fink, he's been really big on tokenization. So
Absolutely.
this is definitely a big use case of crypto. I kind of gave a little bit of thoughts here, but essentially it means that institutions are going to have compliant yield generating real world assets on at least the XRP ledger for right now. And they'll have 24/7 mint and redemption via RLUSD, which is a stable coin. And I think that this is a big step. XRP aside, this is a big step for the industry. I mean, putting short-term treasury bonds on or short-term U.S. Treasuries on a blockchain. I mean, it's a big step, and this is kind of what this goes perfect in line with our whole conversation here. Is like we're entering the stage where I think we need to look at the projects that are actually doing something in the real world of finance.
Mm.
Bitcoin aside, that has cemented itself as digital gold. People say that it failed on its mission of being peer-to-peer cash, but at the end of the day, I think that everybody looks at it as digital gold now. So it's going to be a store of value in digital gold. I don't think that we could look at Bitcoin as, something that's going to be integrated into the financial system like that. And that's fine. We're going to have different projects and different chains doing different things. It's not going to be one thing that does it all. So
Mm.
this is big. I think that this is super, super big, especially with the BlackRock CEO and Ondo, of course, they posted about it. And I think it's a really big step for the industry just in general. So this is going to be something I'm watching closely. It'll definitely be something I'm watching closely. So yeah.
Yes, and I see. Oh, no, he's talking about Giga. I thought he was talking about Ondo. Is there anything that you think would be interesting on the charts as far as checking out Ondo in terms of is this a good entry price? Is it pumped up now from this?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a bunch of sells or shorts ready to go?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I covered everything here in the browser that I wanted to go over.
Cool.
I guess one more thing on the browser here. If we go to Velo, let's just take a look at the on-chain data for Ondo, and let's see what it's looking like here. Because before there was a bunch of shorts happening on Ondo. Let's see if that's still the case. So kind of strong negative funding like this happens from a bunch of shorts. So the funding rate comes in and it tries to keep the price of the perp contract, futures contract, in line with the spot price. So when we see funding really negative like this, what's happening is it's incentivizing people to short, or sorry, it's incentivizing people to long to kind of push the spot price or the perp price back in line with the spot price. So yeah, this is pretty interesting. And if we look here at oh wow, this is pretty big. I'm just looking at this right now. Guys, we have seen a massive inflow of spot buying on Ondo. This is actually pretty crazy. I mean, holy, this is about $120 million net market bought. Uh-oh. Let me see if I could
Dom's like, hey guys, we need to stop the stream. I gotta go do something real quick.
Yeah, let me see what venue this is coming from. It's not coming from Binance, not coming from Coinbase, or actually, I'm looking at the wrong one. It's coming from Coinbase. Binance actually, it doesn't even have spot Ondo. So Coinbase, Bybit, and OKX. Wow. Guys, this is pretty big. This is actually pretty big. And take it from me. I mean, I look at these are called a cumulative volume delta. This is basically showing the net market buying of the assets. So if we look at all the volume, there's always an equal amount of volume, but for price to move, there has to be a imbalance of volume. So this looks at the imbalance. So this means that since January 13th, on those few venues, there's been $130 million of Ondo bought more than it's been sold. And to put it in perspective, I mean, look at Sol. We'll give a little example. Sol obviously been downtrending. We could go through, look at Ethereum. I mean, look at the spot volume on Ethereum, even probably Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin. Spot volume's been going down. Let's see what else here. Sui, Jupe, pretty silent. Doge. So if we go back to Ondo, guys, thanks for having me bring this up. Actually, this is something I talked about a few months ago, but this is big. So there are a lot of people accumulating Ondo right now. So Ondo's actually one of my like 8 altcoins. Been holding it.
It also is in mine because everyone I know who's a good trader and has good sound advice has Ondo in their picks. And I was like, okay, I got that on my radar for sure. That's so in this scenario, Dom, is if like for traders, investor people, when it spikes like that, is that historically okay, wait for a pullback, or is that hey, hop on momentum now because people are buying into this right now?
It's
Not
hard
financial
to,
advice, but
yeah, it's hard to say. Here we could give an example. So we saw something similar, but guys, this is not even compare. I mean, this is
yeah,
last April. Look at what we're seeing right now. I
it's like
mean, wow.
XRP.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy actually. Let me pull this on top and we could give an example. So look, when we had price going sideways, we had spot CVD rallying up. So buyers were just eating each of these dips. And of course, price responded by doing a 85%.
Wow.
Right now, look, we're seeing about the same thing, price going sideways, spot buying. So, yeah, this is looking pretty good. You know, obviously I'm not on my main charts here. I don't really use Velo for just charting. I use it for this on-chain data here, or not on-chain, for this derivatives data. And I mean, if I'm going to make a prediction here, this is not something that you fade. And that doesn't mean that we can't see, you know, more chop, or, you know, we can't do that. But overall, I mean, when you have this type of spot support, it's only usually time until the market catches on there. So Bitcoin puts in a new high. The altcoin market goes on another rally. Ondo is going to be a big part of that, in my opinion.
By the way, for anyone who's watching, okay, well, you can't see this, but I'm taking notes. So if you're not taking notes, you're doing it wrong. That's one thing I learned when I first started trading was keep a journal, write stuff down, keep track of everything that's going. Otherwise, you're never gonna get past the thought process that you need to develop actual theses. So I'm writing out notes here that I'm going back to. I'm also writing down codex.com. Was it the block.com that we were on a second ago, right? For information and news?
Yeah, the block is really good for a lot of data.
Perfect. The block.co is it .com?
.co. It's the block.co, yep.
Perfect. Block.co. And then you were using Velo, right?
Yeah.
.xyz for this?
Yeah, Velo is good for a few different things, actually. If we go over here, and they got a good news feed. So, you know, if you're looking, like, look at what happened. Let's see if I can get a crypto here. Let's see here. Okay, look, this showed XRP, and right when that news dropped. So it kind of gives you an overline of when the news drops on certain things. So it's a good news feed to have up. And then it's got a bunch of futures data. So, you know, we could spend so much time looking at this, but a lot of good futures data. And then what else I like to look at it for is just general market overviews. So we could kind of look at, you know, top losers, top volume, top gainers, go on a 1 month. So over the top gainers, looks like Spell and Vine were the top gainers. Open interest changes, that kind of shows how many people are opening up buy or sell contracts on the perp exchanges. Mm-hmm. And then a few other different things here. I like to look at the sector performance as well. This is pretty cool. Even though I created my own of this on TradingView, if we go on 1 month, we could see, you know, the best performing sector is L1s. And it kind of just shows you a pretty good overview of the sectors here. And then what else do we have here?
I need a dual monitor if I'm going to get something like this. This is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, this is some cool data. This is one of the few I use, but I use this just for that general stuff we like to look at. And then one other good thing here is like for ETFs. This is my go-to for ETFs. So if we look here and we go to area, we can look at cumulative ETF flows, and I can look at you know, the flows from just IBIT. So if I take over, I know we're going a little off tangent here, but you know, I'm sure it's useful.
No, I think this is helpful. I think this is really helpful.
So yeah, if we take that all away, I could look at just the total cumulative flows of the ETFs. So for right now, ETFs have taken in 15.3 billion on Bitcoin, and it's a super useful thing. And then we got Ethereum ETF flows as well. So a lot of different cool stuff on here, but I mainly use it for its on-chain data. And I kind of created my dashboard here where I look at aggregated volume. So this is looking at the volume of perps, which usually is always going down. This is only useful on a shorter time scale. Then we see the spot volume. We see open interest here, which is the total amount of perp contracts open. And then right here, we have the premium. So this shows the price of the spot versus the perp contract. And when this is low, this usually shows that the market's healthy and that there's not much longing going on, leverage longing. And when this is low, this shows basically that there's more people shorting than longing. And when this is high, you know, it kind of gives you areas where the market might be a little bit overheated. So yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, we could switch over now to TradingView. Just give me a second here to
And while he's doing that, guys, if you're watching the stream, please give Dom a follow. Just scroll up right above our faces if you're on X and click his account. Give him a follow. He's been running it on Twitter. Like, he's someone you want to follow him if you like anything that we've been talking about. And if you're on YouTube, go down in the description and you can find Dom's X there as well if you want to give him a follow and you're coming from YouTube land. Really appreciate you guys. Actually, there's a lot more that can be posted from X because it's just easier to post. Dom can only probably go live every now and then on YouTube. So if you want to get his quick up-to-date thoughts and his updates, he's posting those, and they're going to be on X. So be sure to follow him.
Totally. Yeah, much appreciated there. It's definitely been a fun past few months. Yeah. But yeah, so before we go, I guess we go into anything else a little bit deeper. I guess I'll just start off by showing here what's kind of happening with altcoins, because that was kind of the main point of this of the stream here. So if we look, this is a little custom denomination I made, which essentially is just the total three, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum excluded, the top 125 excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then I essentially take away the stable coins, so it's not a false view. And then we divide it by Bitcoin. So what that's showing us is the dominance of basically the altcoins compared to Bitcoin. So this right here was the 2021 alt season. Look at that.
Wow. Good grief.
And look at what we've seen so far.
Oh.
So if, for everybody that's watching, if we're confused, we're wondering why most altcoins just have not catched a bid against Bitcoin, this gives you the visual representation of it. And simply put, this is the best chart to watch to kind of see when this breaks out, that means altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin. So simply put, I'm looking for a regain of that level. If we see a regain of that level, I think that we could see that small outperformance of altcoins that I've been talking about. I don't think we're going to see this. I do not think we're going to see something like this. I mean, this was a crazy alt season for the people that, witnessed this. This was, things were going up 20, 30, 40, 50x, large caps. I don't see it anymore. And this kind of just shows what we've seen so far. So it's the first point I wanted to make. And then the second point is, here's Bitcoin dominance compared to the rest of the market. Bitcoin has just continued to eat away at the market share. This one right here was the alt season of 2021. So here's kind of an inverse view of what we were just looking at.
What did Bitcoin go to in this scenario? So one thing actually I think that would be helpful is, I think it was on Black Widow's stream. I'm also I subscribe to her Patreon because she's great on X, and I figured I'll get her insights. So there's like $30 a month or something like that, I think. And she mentioned that she was like, hey, like when Bitcoin stalls, I'm trying to think what she had said. Basically, I was trying to figure out, like, does Bitcoin need to crash and then altcoins run, or does Bitcoin just need to chill and then altcoins run? Because when you see a chart like this, people are like, oh, so Bitcoin must have crashed. And I'm like, well, I don't think it crashed. I think it chilled,
It's a great question. Awesome question there. And easy way to look at that. If we lay over Bitcoin and if we match the scale here, Bitcoin does not need a crash. What Bitcoin needs to do is go sideways and it needs to chop. So if we look at the 2021 alt season, it basically started right here. So it kicked off right when Bitcoin hit 40K, but it did not really get crazy. We see, altcoins took a little bit of its dominance, but this right here, that top accumulation structure, I'm sure you've seen on the charts when Bitcoin was just ranging between 50 and 60K. That is when, if we look, that's when altcoins took over. And, Bitcoin, technically speaking, the whole time that was happening, Bitcoin was chilling. So no, Bitcoin does not need a crash, but historically speaking, when you see this, Bitcoin does pull back hard after. So,
wow. Okay. As in, like during the altcoin takeover, Bitcoin does come down a little bit once they've kind of confirmed an altcoin rally.
No, towards the end of the altcoin rally.
I see. Okay, got it.
So yeah, if we see right when Bitcoin started falling here and it broke that 50K support, altcoins were just about done. They were just about done, and then this pulled down the entire market. And then if we lay over total 2 on here as well, we can see, look, then total 2 came down. So here's a perfect example. The pink or whatever is Bitcoin going sideways. The purple here is the altcoins going crazy. As the altcoins were going crazy, Bitcoin's dominance was dropping. Once we kind of hit that top level right there, everything pulled back together.
Jeez. Yeah.
So this is the usual thing we see in these cycles. Is it going to happen again? We can only sit and guess. we really can only sit and guess because everything of this cycle has already been different. And, when I saw that little outperformance of altcoins happening in November, I kind of saw that by looking at a fib retracement. We hit that same fib retracement, that 0.702 fib, and that was the top of Bitcoin dominance. And maybe that still is the top, but as we can see, I mean, Bitcoin has been taking back dominance. The past,
dude, I know. I'm like,
past,
but it's still ranging between 90 and 100. It feels like forever.
it
So
has
like, I
been.
think people are like, are we gonna pump? I feel like what everyone's thinking, are alts ever gonna run? Is what I've been hearing on the timeline. Like, what is going on?
Totally. That's really a good point. And I think that the point to make there is Bitcoin's been ranging. The dominance has been going up. So what that means is altcoins have been bleeding as Bitcoin has been ranging.
Yeah.
Bitcoin could go sideways. Altcoins could be doing this. Bitcoin's dominance is doing that. So it's a crazy relationship. I've spent so many hours just looking at this relationship, and it was a good question you brought up there. Bitcoin dominance falling like we've seen, it does not mean Bitcoin crashes.
Yeah.
It just means that money is taken out of Bitcoin or more money is put into the market and it's not Bitcoin. So collectively, that's going to drop its percentage of the market cap,
Mm.
So yeah, that's really a good overview of the initial relationship. Let me see if I had anything else. Yeah, this is Bitcoin compared to the others, which is the top 125 minus the top 10. And as we can see, Bitcoin continues to gain its value back from, or basically take market share. So it just continues to drill home the same point here that these altcoins continue to bleed. And I don't think that that's going to, just continue to happen without any bounces. But if you're holding these altcoins, you just have to be very quick in and out. And that might change. But my best saying is I'd rather be late to the party than to show up at the wrong one. So, if we look here at some of these altcoins, I guess I'll just pull up Atom. It's like, yeah, we could try to fish for the bottom here and expect the next few months to be a crazy time. But, what's if this never does pump? Yeah. What's if all we see is that, and then bam, right back down, because guess what happens if you're holding this down here and you see this, most people are not selling up here. All they're thinking about is, oh, look, breakout where this is next. And before you know it, it dips. Oh, it's just a dip. We'll go higher. Dips more. Oh, it's just a dip. It's fine. And then we're back down to where we were. Mm-hmm. That is the story of the cycle. It is definitely the story of the cycle. So yeah, I'm not sure if there is anything else too specific here. Let me pull up this one thing I made. This was basically yesterday. Or actually, no, it was just on this chart. Let me just see if I could pull it up. I posted this yesterday. It was total 2, I believe. Yeah. So we're entering the point. This is a little bit off topic as for altcoins, but we're entering the point of seasonality that I've spoke about for a while, where the market's topped in March and April the last 4 years. So, maybe this isn't going to happen, but seasonality is more so important than just cycles. We put in a top, dropped 50%, 2021, 2022. Top was put in, dropped 60%. March, April 2023, dropped until basically October. This was last year, as we know. We went through crazy consolidation, and look where we're at now. So, in my opinion, what we need to see the next 2 months. That's what we need to see. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the crypto seasonality approach is going to be put to bed, but for something that's happened every single year the last 4 years, it's definitely not something to fade. It's something to keep the back of your mind and kind of, deviate from the idea if we have reasons to do so. And right now, I don't think we have any reason to deviate from this. So I think that throughout this period, we can see that little outperformance of altcoins that I'm explaining. So if we go back and look at Bitcoin, if Bitcoin puts in another leg, 120, 130, 140, 150, I think that at that point, it's going to be the time where we need to see those altcoins really, really show their moves. Because
if they don't, what would you say if literally we didn't see it at all? I mean, maybe we see a couple of the main ones perform a little bit, but if we don't see any rally, like, what would I guess would everything just die? Like, I don't know what people would do if they're like, hey, Bitcoin's at 150K. Why are all the alts at the same price? Like, that's a scenario that I really haven't heard anyone say. It's a scenario that doesn't seem feasible. but it's possible. I mean, we've
Yeah,
just seen Bitcoin run and like nobody pumped,
Yeah, it's a very possible scenario. And, if you're watching the stream live or if you're watching the recording, earlier in the stream, I think we talked about the reasons why we shouldn't be surprised if we do see that. With only so much money going around, it kind of begs the question of that kind of, it wouldn't be surprising. It just shows that Bitcoin's leading the show. Bitcoin has the attention on it, and then some of the altcoins. That's really what it's at. So I guess I don't really have too much to say about that other than, one other thing I guess I'll pull up here is if we look at the Russell 2000, this is the small cap index of stocks. And, this kind of shows a broader, let's see if I could get a longer chart here. This shows basically what we're talking about here, which is the idea that we're not in an expansive monetary environment. And when we are in expansive monetary environments, we see large cap stocks also go crazy. So if we see here, the Russell 2000 ranged for many years, 2015, 2016, right when the Russell 2000 made an all-time high, which is, remember, this is the 2000 small cap stocks. Look at what crypto altcoins did. They went crazy with it. Same thing right here. If we look back in 2020, right when the Russell 2000 went into price discovery, look at what the altcoins did. They went crazy. We go right now, both the Russell 2000 has not made an all-time high, and the altcoin market has not made an all-time high. So what this tells me is that the same thing with the stock market, liquidity has been dispersed into just a few large stocks, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, AMD, some of the other AI sectors. And the general, we can call the Russell 2K the altcoin market of the stock market. And we haven't seen expansion there. So there's a lot of reasons for this. And I think that if we were in a area where we had crazy money printing, which I'm not sure if you ever looked at the what is it? The M2 money supply. Have you ever looked at the M2 money supply?
Maybe, but I'm not thinking I did.
So I'm
thinking I have.
I don't have the perfect explanation of what this is, but essentially just shows all of the money in the system. I think that this adds up corporate bonds and loan values and just a lot of different things. I'm sure we can look real quick online what the exact calculation is, but if we put over the altcoin market again, look at when we saw that crazy altcoin market. It was when the money supply increased by 40%. What and why was that? That was COVID. Yeah. So what happens there is there was a bunch of money in the system. Credit was very, very easy to access. People were getting airdrop money in their bank accounts.
I definitely was.
Yeah,
and not even just from that, but I was getting like crypto airdrops, like $5,000 for doing nothing. Yeah. And I think that's where it was. Like you literally just had so much money circulating everywhere.
You're absolutely right. So, that's a different environment to say the least. People don't have that much disposable capital right now. And if we just go look at where we're at, look, the M2 money supply, when this cycle, it's only risen 4%. In 2021, it rose 40%. So to put it simply, we have 10 times less, available capital or new money being printed into the system than we did before. And we could look at that as like monetary stimulus, So I'm just showing a lot of reasons here why we're not seeing this crazy alt season, and why if we don't, there's not going to be any surprise for me. And all this data kind of confirms that. So yeah, I don't know if you had more questions before we wrap it up. I did have one more thing, but if you had some more questions, I'd love
Well, just real quick here, a couple of things. So I believe he's asking at the stream at 17 minutes. So I believe at 17 minutes we were talking about risk for BTC. We talked about crypto is basically 7 coins. Then a few minutes later, we jumped into Ondo and we charted it at like the half-hour mark. So I'm not sure if you mean trading view like the time. Is that what you're talking about? Like, is he referring to the buys that were happening? Do you think?
I'm thinking he's referring to something that happened on the chart, like a bad piece of data. But I'm not seeing anything here.
What happened on trading view at 17:14? So that would be 5:15.
Yeah, I mean, if he's still in, maybe he'll respond. But I don't see anything.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know, Tames. I'm not sure what you're asking there, but Yeah, and then Hunter says, any helpful resources? He actually hooked me up with Trading Light last stream. Something I'm going to be poking into this week a lot more. And it's just, he basically was like, you need to find an edge. And by the way, in this stream, guys, this is really just to help you see how a professional trader thinks about the market, not so much what you should be buying and selling. Like, I hope you didn't take this, I hope the one thing you took from this stream isn't, I want to buy Ondo. It is not like, that's not really the goal of the stream. The goal of the stream is to help you understand how to think about the markets and develop theses and back it up by not just hopium, but by some things that can give you an edge, which are some of these things that we've jumped into. And so, Dom, for a beginner trader, are there resources? Like, do you need to be pulling up, all these different lines and charts? Or for a beginner, what kind of things are most important, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a loaded question. I think that if you're a beginner, what you want to do is, your main approach should be to watch price as long as you can. Your main approach should be to study price action. Forget about all of the indicators. Forget about clogging up your chart with Bollinger Bands or moving averages or VWAPs or anything. You just want to study the chart, and that is going to give you a skill that is irreplaceable. And that's something that, people that just study, that people call themselves price action traders. And it could be true. It could be that, you spent thousands of hours just looking at charts, watching them move, seeing different structures and seeing what happens after different structures. And that's going to continue to imprint things into your mind that you can build off of. So, that's really my best approach. I mean, the simplest thing that I would tell someone new is just watch the charts as long as you can, and then slowly add things. So once you study the charts and you could kind of just, you could kind of make some predictions just based on charts. The first thing I would add in is trend lines. I would add in just lines. People asked me before, I think I could survive with just lines and candles.
Really?
If I really needed to, I think I could probably survive on just lines and candles.
Dude, that would be a cool challenge if we did like a 4-week or 4-month or even like a year challenge to be like, how well can we perform with like zero indicators or something? I've always been thinking like there's got to be some kind of fun thing I can try at some point where it gives you a little bit of like oomph behind it, where it's like, okay, let's really lock in, like actually write these things down kind of thing. That would be an interesting one, especially for me. I probably don't need to be pulling up every single indicator. That might be a fun thing that I go and tackle this year as well.
Totally. And honestly, I don't really use, I definitely use trend lines, but not as much as I used to. But I've been the biggest advocate that trend lines, at least in crypto, if you know how to place them, they're one of the most powerful things ever. And people might laugh at that. But look, I mean, throughout this, I did use a few more indicators to kind of predict this 15K low bottom. But the main thing of my thesis here back in, I think it was December or January of 2023, was this 2,000-day trend line. I said, if Bitcoin breaks this, it's not going to be good. And sure enough, that was the complete bottom. And it was all based on.
Wow. That's crazy seeing that.
It was all really based on a trend line. Like I said, I used other things as confluence, but it was based on a trend line. So to finish answering that question, after you study price action, I would add in moving averages. If you're on TradingView, you can look up my multiple moving average toolkit. I basically made this indicator, and what it does is it streamlines your experience of MAs. So you're able to plot 5 different MAs, and you could change the different types. You could have EMAs, SMAs. Super useful indicator for anyone that's trying to just back test with moving averages.
You've got this available. Someone could grab this on your links.
Yeah, it's completely free. You actually don't even need my link. You could just go on indicators, and you could even just type in TraderView 2, which is my thing. And actually, it doesn't come up on there. But if you type in multiple moving average toolkit, it will come up right in the community or in the community scripts. So yeah, that would be my second approach: is add moving averages on, study trends, study what happens, study the relationship between those. And then after that, I would dive into these 3 indicators. This is regular RSI, this is stochastic RSI, and this is logarithmic MACD. These things are very simple, and I started my journey of analysis just using these. Of course, I've advanced from there, and but I know people that have successfully traded the markets just on these, and just on trend lines. So that's where I would start. And if you do that, I guarantee you'll have a good path of where to go after that.
think most people are in that boat exactly. Like Dom or Hunter, I'm glad you asked this question because I imagine for someone who's watching this, they're like, "Holy crap! Look at the possibilities!" And as soon as you click off the stream, you go eat a hamburger or something like that. And like that's, it'd be great. Like actionable tips, like literally go to TradingView, pull a couple of those charts up. For me, I learned institutional trading, and so smart money. I was following smart money, and so I'm watching for institutional candles within ranges and stuff, and then kind of following that was how I learned. And I also would agree, pretty much just studying the charts as much as you can. I also think that charting, just like drawing things on there and just getting a little bit of experience, almost like taking a shot. Like when I was learning, I remember they would sometimes be like, "Hey, explain what you see here," and that's a little bit hard to do sometimes. And so doing a little bit of pulling up lines, like you were saying with the trend lines, see if you can make some predictions, see if they follow through, see why they didn't. I think that's all great stuff there. And I'm also seeing here from Eris, thanks for the insights. Picked up so much from your approach. Let's go. Is there a relationship between large cap stocks dominance rotating into altcoins? Which chart could show this relationship?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm about to try to make a custom denomination here that might show us this. Okay. So just give me 1 second. Let me see if I have.
I see Tame said there was a crazy spike in the chart for Ondo institutional worthy spike. I think that is what we were looking at prior, right?
I think so. I didn't see any crazy spike.
Yeah. There was a bunch of what we were talking about there at Tamed was, and I think you were in the stream, so this may not be what we're talking about, but there was a bunch of spot buying from Coinbase, OKX, OKX, and then one other place in enormous amounts, but the price really hadn't moved too much compared to maybe what you would expect. So that was just an interesting note. I'm actually going to go back and check into that after the stream as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I might have to put a little bit more thought. This kind of just looks like the Bitcoin chart, but yeah, I don't have off the top of my head. Basically, or else what we can do is we could look at basically Bitcoin dominance plus Ethereum dominance. I think he's trying to ask, like, if we could see how much the large caps own of the entire market. So let me see if I could just quickly put this on here because it is a pretty interesting thing I haven't looked too far into. So let's see. Those would probably be, and then just BNB. But yeah, it really shows, like I said earlier in the stream, I mean, crypto is really made up of 80% of crypto is the top 10 coins. And I think people lose perspective of that everybody's just trying to kind of fight for those top spots. It's really the whole, it's really the whole game of a lot of these projects. But let's see what this comes out to be. Yeah, look, 83%. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Doge, and BNB make up 83% of the market. What else am I missing here on the top 10? Doge, I think ADA, and then TRX. Let's see if we could just do a little bit more here. Because, man, that is pretty interesting. And this kind of drills home exactly what we were saying here. ADA, and then TRX. 85%. So the top 10, not even excluding, or sorry, let's just make it a little bit crazier and let's put the stable coins in here.
This is crazy.
It is crazy. It is something crazy that people don't talk about. 90%, guys.
Oh my gosh. 90%.
Yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, XRP, Doge, BNB, ADA, TRX, and the stables make up 90% of the main crypto market. I'm
speechless. That's actually insane.
Is that something you expected, Cade?
I expected a high percentage. 90% is insane, and it makes me think, why would you ever invest anything other than the top 10? Like, I mean, yes, you could see some gains, but if 90% is in there,
it shows a lot for sure.
Wow.
It totally shows a lot. I mean, this is pretty crazy here. 90%. And interestingly enough, this is kind of when we had that little altcoin outperformance. And then look, those top 10 have brought their performance or their dominance right back to where it's been.
Incredible.
So yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing. That's the main takeaway from the stream. And I guess, if you think of any other questions, let me know. But there's one last thing I wanted to cover here, which is,
please.
I made this watch list. So if anyone's watching, if you go on my, maybe you could share it on. If you go on my
I'll put here. Will you send me the link? I'll put it under the stream. If you're on Twitter, I'll put it on the stream under Wolf and my personal one. If you're, I don't know where you're watching it. And if it's on YouTube, I'll put that in the comments as well.
Yeah, 1 second here. Let me grab this because this is pretty useful. I basically made this watch list that plots the total two. So, it plots the top 150. So, the main 98% of cryptos. And it plots those against the total two, which the total two is the general altcoin market, not including Bitcoin. So what this shows us, and we're about to go through it, I'll send it to you here in the private chat right there.
Yep.
I made it free for everybody. They could just add it to their own trading view. What this is going to do, guys, is this is going to show you, is your coin outperforming altcoins, or is your coin losing against altcoins? So if we go through, look at Ethereum since 2018. Generally speaking, Ethereum since 2018 has not gained any traction against the altcoin market. And, if we keep going through, XRP, it was in a large downtrend for a while, losing a lot of dominance against the altcoins. But recently, as we've seen, it's taken back a lot of that dominance. And we could keep going through. I mean, Sol's one of the strongest. So we can see Sol right here is continued to grow against the altcoin market. And BNB as well, Doge even, ADA. And then if we go down to some of the lower ones, like AVAX, look at AVAX. AVAX has been in a downtrend against the altcoin market as a whole. So essentially, when this chart's going down, you're better off holding basically the top 10 coins or Bitcoin than holding your altcoin. So anytime that you're looking at any of these charts and they're going down, that basically is telling you that you're better off holding the top 10 coins or a few of them that are performing well, or just holding Bitcoin. And that's the crazy thing to look at. Like since August, Telegram Open Network, it's lost 50% of the value against the altcoin market. So this is basically telling you that, it's basically telling you that you're better off just holding the Bitcoin or some of the outperformers. Like here's Sui. Sui since August, it took 400% more gains against the altcoin market. And this is cool because it's, instead of looking at just USD, it's giving you a good example in DOT here. I think I looked at this on the stream. Look at DOT. DOT compared to the altcoin market has lost 93% of its value. So you're way better off just holding Bitcoin. Even Litecoin here. I mean, look at Litecoin. Litecoin has not caught a breath.
Wow.
And then we could keep going through these, but essentially this is a super useful thing to kind of gauge those rotations. And that's kind of what I'm saying is you could analyze these charts like any other charts. When they hit certain supports, you might see an outperformance. So for example, here, this is Hyperliquid. If Hyperliquid would regain this resistance as support, we can see Hyperliquid outperform the general altcoin market. So as traders and even investors, this is the type of stuff you want to be looking at. This is by far the type of stuff you want to be looking at. And look at Pepe against the altcoin market. It's been bleeding, right there. After a big pump on these charts too, and you're holding this coin,
you retrace the whole move.
Yeah, you basically say, okay, it's probably better to take my profits and put them in Bitcoin. And guess what? And if you didn't, you lost 50. You've lost 50% of your gains. Even Near,
wow.
I know you love Near, but
no,
Near, unfortunately,
it's not performing at all.
Yeah,
I do love Near from the AI aspect behind the tech, but as a token value, not looking good.
Yeah, it's been a little bit rocky since May. Let's see. It's lost about 60% of its value against the altcoin market since May.
Following the same trend as everybody else. Insane, dude.
I look at Ondo. Ondo's been very strong ever since it released. I mean, it's outperformed altcoins by 250%.
Wait, that's insane. Actually, hold on. There's a couple other. I won't pull them up on the stream. There's a couple other charts I was paying attention to that are smaller in that same sector. I wonder if those also have performed in the last, because a few of these came out like recently as well. So it's possible it's a little bit of just excitement. But like Peak is one that I think of that launched PEAQ, and it's like a DeepIn, smaller project on DeepIn. But I remember it was like just coming out, and I was like, this could be like a Jupiter type of play for Solana, like that kind of thing was kind of my thought. And so I'm looking at the whole time chart. It popped out, shot to 50 cents, came down to the 20s, went back up to the 70 cents, down, swinging down. Now it's back at 35 cents, kind of like at a lower price range. But that's really interesting.
So here it is right here. Back in November, if you bought peak, you outperformed the altcoin market by about 250%. But since then, when you saw this big resistance, this double top come in, and you saw you could add just a little bit more analysis, whether it's a moving average or just a trend line. That's a break of structure. That tells you, hey, let me get out of peak. It's probably going to start underperforming the altcoin market. And since then, it's dropped about 40%.
You know what's interesting about double tops? I feel like they play out every time in crypto. I have literally called so many tops by saying, oh yeah, we're not going to break this one. And I sold, and we pretty much downtrended from there. And I was like, am I stupid, or are the double tops just clear indication of bearish structures? Because if it doesn't break, you're like, look, there's not enough power here to break through this, which means we're going to start going down.
Yeah, this is where I don't use fibs too much, but this is where I like to use fibs for anyone wondering. So, when you see a double top get put in and you say, okay, we obviously rejected at a big resistance. If you draw a fib on there and it breaks under the golden ratio, that's always my signal that this is done. It is over. Okay. So if this was bullish and it held right here and it started coming back up, I would continue to hold that, saying we might now go for another try of that double top. And this is where I like to use fibs. It tells me, if it retraces more than 70% of the move, it's never good. I love this golden ratio. This is the way I use my fib. I basically take off all the other things. I only use the 0.618, the 0.786, 0.65, and the 0.702. And I use that in this exact moment is, if this was still bullish, it would have held this. And sure enough, right when we broke, look what's happened.
I mean, that looks like every single meme coin in the last 24 hours. Basically, That's what I was looking at. I was like, either we're going to break it and we will literally go, 20x, or it will break structure and it's cooked. And there's no way it comes back because people lose faith. They go, oh, I guess we're not going to break it. And then they just start selling off.
Totally. Yeah, you're 100% right. And look at Ethereum Classic. If you held Ethereum Classic back since 2016, I mean, you lost 99% compared to the altcoin market. Even a few of these other ones, like look at Matic. Terrible.
Oh my God.
Terrible. And here you could apply the same concept I just told you. Draw fib. We were trying to hold that retracement level. And after a few tries of getting over it, right when you see this, and especially when it breaks the 0.786, that's your signal. Get out.
Yeah.
And then look what happens after. Let me see if I can find an example of where it holds and continues to go higher.
It's cool too. Also, Dom, I'm not seeing a bunch of hate in the comments, and I think it's because it's hard to fight this. When you look at the data, you're like, what are you gonna say? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, bro, look at the chart. Like, what are you talking about? How could you possibly argue against it? That's why these are fun, because if you make an H bar to 1000x video or a H bar to $1,000 video, you can find hate there because there's plenty of data to say, hey, that's a pretty wild statement. What do you have to back it up? You could maybe back it up, but when you're pulling it up like this is hard to argue, man. I mean, you can't say Matic is bullish and then pull up a chart and say how.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And let me clarify that too. There's some people that have approaches of trying to pick bottoms, and that's fine. People can be successful in that, but that's not my approach. I think that you have a lot less likely chance of success trying to pick a bottom rather than hopping on strength. That's really my approach now. So I'm not saying that these coins are cooked forever, but what I'm saying is if you're an investor in the space, why do you want to buy something that's been downtrending forever? Just to try to get, a perfect entry. You'd rather hop on strength because usually that strength is going to continue. And that's kind of my approach there. So here's a good example on Kaz. So when Kaz, put in that next leg, we see, it held so well, it didn't even need to go down near here. And then sure enough, it went higher. And then we could do the same thing right here. Perfect tap, perfect reaction, strong reaction that told us Kaz is going to go higher. So that's kind of my approach on this. And yeah, this I see in the comment. Anyway, Dom can make that whole watch list for purchase. It's free. He just posted it.
Yeah, it's in the comments. So if you're on X, I posted it under Dom's tweet, the quote tweet. It's also in the Wolf tweet. It's also here on YouTube in the comment section. And it's on my personal as well. I posted it all from the Wolf account tweet. So just look for that Wolf icon and you can go and find that for free. And by the way, at some point he may start releasing stuff, but while he's got, free information, just like sharing it, again, give him a follow on Twitter because he can post those quicker updates there. And oftentimes I'll see he'll post something from like 3 weeks ago and he'll go back and leave a comment as an update. And you'll be like, totally. Oh, left a comment 2 hours ago. And like, that's something I love that you do.
Totally. Yeah. That's something I started doing recently and it's definitely good. I use the search function to try to figure out things I posted and to update on them because, people post.
Nobody does that.
Yeah, things get lost, and it's important to at least follow up on them. But here's one other one. Look at Filecoin. I mean, look at Filecoin compared. I mean, you're way better off just holding Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Even Arbitrum.
It's incredible.
I mean, Arbitrum's lost 85% of its value against the altcoin market in the last year. Let's see what else we got here. And guys, for your watching, this is not just for you to look at what's dying. This is also for you to look at what you should rotate into. Yep. So you apply your analysis to all of the, to these type of charts, and just, you could put moving averages on and say, okay, is the moving average band continuing to hold? Is the trend still bullish? Is there a good pullback that I should enter? So, that's also how you can use these. And then what else we have here? Atom, as I said, that this one's one of the most embarrassing ones. Atom's just been losing. Dude. Tia, Celestia. I mean, and here's a simple thing. It's like, if I'm holding Tia, I'll go over to my watch list here. I'll draw a simple uptrend, just a simple uptrend, maybe throw a moving average on there if I need. And right when it breaks, just get out. If it reclaims, you can get back in. But it's like, in this environment now, you do not want to be stuck holding the bag. You're going to take anything away from the stream. Don't be stuck holding the bag on these altcoins. You want to secure the bag, OP was another one. Really just can't catch a breath against the altcoin market. INJ as well. It performed really well last year, but been bleeding since. What are some other ones that have been working pretty good? Sand, been bleeding super heavy. So yeah, I guess we could spend a lot of time on this, but the point remains that check out this watch list. I use ChatGPT to reformat a text file for me to basically import this list. So it was something that took me only like an hour to do, but super useful, super useful. I love denominating things in other things. I mean, here's some of my unique pairings as well. Like, this is XRP against a bunch of different coins. This is Bitcoin. Like, look at Bitcoin against the VIX. You could find things on here that give you an edge. Let me give up one more example here. Let me see which one this was.
Whoa, look at that candle. What the heck?
Yeah, that was when oil went to 0 or -40. What was the one?
My gosh.
Soybeans. So laugh all you want, but I'm sure you guys remember this consolidation structure we had last summer, right? Everybody was concerned that was the top, okay? So if you looked at the USD chart, there was reason to believe that was a weakening pattern. But if you went and denominated Bitcoin and soybeans even, this was a really bullish pattern. Like, and this showed you something that the USD chart did not. It showed you that it is very bullish still. And right when we broke out there, that's when the USD chart started looking good. And I think there was a few other ones that just
with these trend lines before, like when you're watching them. So what's the proper way to do a trend line? And like, which bottoms are you trying to get, or which tops are you trying to make sure? Just because when you're drawing them, I don't want someone to be like, oh, you do this one, but then you do this one, and then you draw it here. Like, what's the proper way to make sure you're charting it correctly?
Yeah, trend lines are very subjective, I will say. But the simplest way to draw a trend line is you want to find the most amount of touches. Okay. So people draw trend lines in just 2 little candles. That's a weak trend line. If you can draw a trend line that has multiple perfect touches, like here's a pretty good one. If I adjust this one, look, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4, reacted here. We call that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
That is a way better trend line than trying to draw something like that only has 2 touches, But yeah, the point remains, denominating Bitcoin and other assets and different things, gives you an edge. So, that's something that I'll finish off with here is, it's a super useful edge, and I would recommend everybody to do it. But, the main takeaway is check out this list. And if your altcoin's trending to 0 against the total 2, it's either you'll continue to hold and hope for outperformance, or start your game of rotations and, try to catch those outperformance.
Yeah. And I see we'll have to get to another stream here. We're already over on time a little bit here. So we'll have to this is a great topic for another stream, like in terms of, I guess, yeah, the question of like, at what point does the cycle top? Do we think the 4-year cycle? Do we think it's going to end before? Do we think sell and may go away and have a second leg up end of year? That might be an interesting topic, in the future when we talk about that sometimes in our spaces as well. Don's sticking to your statement about XRP for this Wednesday. Is there something for this Wednesday?
Nothing comes to mind. No, nothing comes to mind. I'm not sure what statement I had there.
For this Wednesday, whatever. I'm not sure exactly either. Well, we can come back to that if we remember.
Totally, yeah. I guess just the last one. He said you mentioned earlier to get out, not hold round trip. At what point can a new trader know the best time to get out, and also when to re-enter? Well, like I said, this brings up a much larger question of, and it needs a much larger explanation of what's your approach to the market. Everybody has different approaches, but just like I said, if you're starting out, use trend lines. As funny as it sounds, start drawing trend lines, go back in history, use the replay ability right here to, not see the future, draw trend lines, see how they react. And, something like XRP right here, here's a great example. Like, I would just draw this trend line right here on XRP and say, hey, when XRP breaks this trend line, either the whole market is going to, have a much larger correction, or XRP's outperformance is over. And that's just a simple way I would put it. Same thing here with something like Link. It's like, just use basic structure. You just need to use basic structure on higher time frame. Something like AVAX right here, you could draw plenty of different trend lines. Here's a perfect one right here. It's like, look, if you got out of AVAX right there and shifted into Bitcoin, you saved a lot of money.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you saved a lot of money. And I know it's simple, but, it's a very simple approach. Very, very simple approach. So yeah, I guess I hope that answers your question there. But yeah, I guess, the main takeaway here is we're in a liquidity fragmented market. We may not have a synchronized alt season. I think that we're entering the era of utility. And, whether people like these utility coins or not, whether people hate XRP or Ripple or Stellar or not, we can't ignore the fact that there's going to be multiple winners in this space. It's not just going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin has cemented itself for one aspect of the space. So I just say to open your mind there. And, if you're here to make money, you shouldn't care what you're buying either. It's like people people say, why are you involved in XRP? Like, hey, at the end of the day, I don't really care. I'm here to make money. I'm a trader. And if it's performing well, I'm going to jump on it. My ego's not going to get in the way of, whatever else people say. So yeah, that's really my main takeaway there. And I think that if you're in this space, I think the easy days are over. The easy days are over. You're probably better off buying Bitcoin and a few top large caps, unless you want to go in the trenches like Cade and be glued to the screen at all times. That's fine. That's fine.
I don't recommend. I don't know if I recommend that, guys. I haven't slept much.
Yeah, you can make money doing that, but if you just want to be an investor, invest in the things that institutions are getting behind. Invest in the things that we're seeing ETFs come out on, and invest in the things that are showing out performance on basic watch lists like this. So those are my final.
Is it free, by the way? The Trading View plan, you can get the free version and still use watch lists?
I'm pretty sure, yes. Yep.
Yeah, I think you can as well.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll be the final question, guys. We've taken plenty of Dom's time today. We went over a little bit, so I appreciate you, Dom, of course, dude.
Totally,
yeah. Really, really great conversation. And by the way, bro, I think I wrote a bunch of notes down for the last stream, but I think I may have topped it out with every single.
That's
this
awesome.
looks like my cheat card when I in high school.
It looks like a historic, some historic paper we found in a cave.
Yes, it's my Chobani Greek yogurt that I tore apart right before the stream because I said, crap, I need paper and I don't have any. No, this looks exactly like when the college professor says, hey, open note test. And I would write as many things as possible I could fit onto this card. So you're going to be seeing a lot of content, guys. So if you missed the stream, you should rewatch the stream, I think, just in terms of helping your brain start to think like a trader and start to understand things like that. But also, we're going to have content that comes out of these that are a bit smaller, little bite-sized pieces kind of thing. And I think this is going to be really, really excellent. I mean, we went through a lot of stuff. We went through all the coins, the risk for BTC. Dom actually gave a bit of a prediction but what could go wrong that would send Bitcoin down in more of a macroeconomic potential thing that could happen in the future. I thought that was really interesting. We went through a lot of the top coins. We said, how are the cycles going to go? We looked at Ondo and found some really interesting data on Ondo. We did a walkthrough of Velo.xyz. We charted alts versus Bitcoin. We pulled some trend lines. We went through Bitcoin during an alt season, what it's going to look like if that happens. We talked about the money printer, the M2 US money supply, and then we went through a whole segment on beginner advice, how to use trend lines, moving averages, RSI, MACD, a lot of those things. So we literally covered so much. It's insane. So please go back and rewatch it. And if you enjoyed it, retweet it, quote tweet, tag a friend. Let's get the stream out there because every stream is just getting better, I feel like. And I'm going to have too many pieces of content from each of these. So definitely be sure to give Dom a follow because he's going to be posting lots of updates throughout. And he'll probably just ramp. I mean, I don't know if he's going to ramp it up, but I still, either way, I think he's a good resource on Twitter. There's a bunch of nonsense on Twitter. You're going to want to at least even it out amongst all the KOLs that are selling their bags on top of you. Because that's how they make money. They literally make money from just moving and marketing TGs and stuff. So just keep that in mind when you're following people that, see what kind of content they're putting out there before you give them that follow.
Totally. Yeah. Much appreciated for those words. Hope everybody that watched it or is watching the recording got some type of insight. I enjoyed it. I think we went over some great concepts and I think we touched on the title pretty well.
I agree, man. And to Dom's audience, because we linked up Dom's YouTube, shout out to all of you. I think you guys made a great decision. If you haven't already, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, I find that a lot of people who watch the YouTube channels don't subscribe. Yeah. But he's going to be posting regular content. So if you want to get if you want to see them, then the only way is to subscribe because it won't pop up for you. So subscribe to his YouTube channel. Let's pump those numbers up because he deserves it. And these are high quality. It's rare you find high quality traders who are not moon boys. It's very rare. So that's what I'll say.
Totally. Well, thanks again, Cade. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah, everyone. We'll see you all the next one. We have spaces and streams every single day here at Wolf, and hopefully we're gonna do a whole lot more. Be sure again to like, retweet, subscribe, follow, do all the things for Dom and for Wolf if you like this kind of content. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.